Hello, everybody, and welcome for setting up for self-driven study, the webinar, which goal is to explore how to boost learning in your classroom by experimenting with self-directed learning with the help of Quizlet's innovative study tools. I am Gabriela Nespoli. I am your host for the hour, and I would love for you to start by sharing where you are coming from and what is the coolest thing about this place. Please post it in the chat as we get our conversation started. I can kick us off by sharing that I am speaking from Brazil, the seaside of São Paulo. And the coolest thing about here is the ocean, where I get to dive during weekends where I'm not working. What about you? I'm seeing Alabama, Oregon, Texas, high school, amazing. Hello from Mexico City, Illinois, Michigan. Okay, amazing. Miami, South Carolina, California, Las Vegas, casinos. Somebody likes casinos. Texas. Share us what you like about those places, everybody. We would love to learn the location and also what is the coolest thing about there. Bahamas, oh my God. Las Vegas and adult Disneyland. Okay, I'm a big fan of that too. Amazing. What else do we have here? Let's see. Okay, New Jersey beaches, colonial history from Virginia. Amazing. I'm loving this. Let's see, what else? What else? Nebraska, lots of cows and corn. Okay, I'm a big fan of corn. What else we have? What else we have? 10 minutes from the ocean, Orange County, California. I'm a big fan of Orange County, Amy. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today. What else do we have here? Let's see. Los Angeles weather, Sarah. This one is good. This one is good. I hope you didn't have that June foggy this year. When I was in Los Angeles last year, June was very foggy there. What else we have? Let's see. Massachusetts, near the ocean as well. There's a pier here. We love the ocean. Hello, Tracy. What else? What else? Trenton, Illinois. You have lots of corn too. Okay, we have some people here with corn. What else? Last one before we start. Let's see. Niterói, Rio de Janeiro. Bem-vinda, Daniele. So cool. We have a Brazilian here with me. Jamaica, Susan. Okay, I can stay all day here looking at this chat. I am so honored that you are all here joining from these varied locations. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And welcome to an adventure in self-directed learning. I would like to start off by setting a climate for our mutual inquiry. First, I would like it to be a warm climate. I would like for you to feel that I care about you, even though I don't know you. And I hope that you will feel warmly toward me too, as you get to know me better through what I say. So these are the words of Malcolm Knowles, and he wrote these in 1975. And he's explaining self-directed learning, the key topic that we will be exploring here today. But I'm gonna jump in here in a second. First, I'm gonna introduce myself. I am Gabriela Nespoli. I am a Brazilian learning experience designer and a facilitator. I'm also the founder of Florence, an international learning design consultancy. I have over 10 years of professional experience, including a master in learning design and technology from Stanford University, over six years in the nonprofit educational sector, and experience as an entrepreneurship and design 10th grade teacher. I'm a big fan of student-centered learning, self-driven experience, exploring student agency. So this is what brings me here today. If you would like to connect through LinkedIn, I have left my LinkedIn link there in the screen. You can then find me later on. I'm using Gabriela Nespoli as my name. And as I shared before, I have decided to kick us off by sharing this quote from Malcolm Knowles, because he's one of the founders of the self-directed learning approach, the approach which we will be exploring here today. And he wrote this over 50 years ago, and yet his words remain powerful. I love this quote because I feel like it starts by creating the perfect context for not only self-driven exploration, self-directed learning, or for any learning experience, to be honest. I cannot agree more with him. I love to have all my learning experiences as a climate for mutual inquiry. I love for it to be a warm climate. I love for learners to feel that I care about them, and I would love for you to do the same. Because even though I don't know you, I'm a big fan of you already, as you are all educators interested in exploring your own teaching and learning techniques. So this is the ground that I would love to leave here for us to start the experience. With that, our goal here today is to explore how to boost learning in your classroom by experimenting with self-directed learning with the help of Quizlet's innovative study tools. And the idea here is for us to model self-directed learning, right? To experiment with it, not only talk about it, but also get our hands on with it. So this will be an inquired and partially self-driven experience. And we will be guided by 4 main questions. The first one is, what is self-directed learning? We're starting with the basics, right? The second one is, why does this approach matter in the age of generative AI, the age where we are? Third, how can one experiment with self-directed learning? And fourth, how can Quizlet's tools support you in this practice? So these are our 4 main questions for today for the next about 40 minutes. But first things first, right? Before we actually start with this experience, we would love to hear from you. How do you feel about today's guiding questions? As of now, what is your level of comfort in answering such questions? Do you feel like you could do that? Do you feel like you could do that and maybe teach a colleague or a friend? Do you still have some doubts? We would love for you to start by answering the poll that has just popped up in your screen by answering, how do you feel about today's guiding questions? And I'm going to leave us a minute for us to answer this question. Okay, more than half of us have answered. Please keep answering the question. Almost 70% of people have answered. Let's see if we can get it 100. Let's see. Is everybody there? This is also a task to see, right? Is everybody actually there? Let's see. Let's raise this number, everybody. Please answer the question that has just popped up in your screen. I'm going to give us another minute for that. Okay. Last minute for that. And I'm going to share results on our screen. Let's see if we can get it 80%. I'm seeing 75%. If you're there, if you're watching, maybe, you know, something, multitasking, no judgments, but maybe take a second to answer the question that had just popped up in your screen. Okay. Let's see results. What we have here is 10% can answer all or most of the questions and teach a colleague or friend. Amazing. These 10% of folks, let's make this collaborative, okay? Please jump in the chat and compliment me whenever needed. Let's make this a collaborative environment where you share your expertise as well. 34% answered that they can answer all or most of the questions. Amazing. This is a high number as well. 40%, and this is our majority, answered that they still have some doubts. Okay, this is the perfect place for that. Thanks for sharing, and let's try and answer some of your doubts. We're all in this together, and 50% said that they're still unable to answer all or most of the questions. So we have about 55% of people who either still have some doubt or are still unable to answer all or most of the question, our majority here. So amazing. Otherwise, maybe Quizlet would just say, okay, Gabriela, bye. So it's good to have people who have questions in the room, as well as amazing to have people who already have some expertise and can share that too. So amazing. Let's continue then. Another thing we would love to hear from you before we get started is, what is your guiding question? What brings you here? What is the question that you would like to have answered? I shared the 4 questions that we have created for you, but we would love to learn what sparked your interest to be here, right? Is there something that you're considering? Is there some doubt that you have? Is there some motive that brought you here? Please post it in the chat. What is your guiding question? What brings you here to this space? And let's make sure that we read everybody's answers too, because we can learn from our colleagues' questions as well. How do I let my students guide their own learning process? Great question, Heather. How to make my class more student-driven? Amazing, Jennifer. Michelle, I'd like to give students a fun way to learn vocab and review. Amazing. How can I use Quizlet to help my students learn? Catherine, amazing. This is our 4th question, so maybe we'll get there together. How can I give the students more responsibility, more agency in their own learning? Amazing, Susan. I'm a big fan of giving students more responsibility and more agency. So let's discuss this together here. How to use Quizlet in a hybrid math classroom. Amazing, Amy. Let's try and answer this together. How do I get started easily? Sister Margaret, this is amazing. I love starting easily. It's better to start easily than not to start at all, right? So let's discuss this here together too. I would like my students to be self-driven. How do I teach them to do that? How can students grow in autonomy? Amazing, we have a lot of answers here. How can I use Quizlet to help them learn English students? How to let English students learn better? Amazing. What else? What else we have here? Let's see. How to stimulate my students to drive their own learning, become avid learners. I love this word, Glenda, becoming avid learners. Okay, most of them are 2-3 years behind and have pretty much keep up or excelling. Okay, we have a problem here of learning gaps. Let's try and cover that as well. Okay, I'm loving, keep them coming. It's very good to tap into your own interests and your own desires in terms of questions when we're starting inquiry-driven experience. So keep them coming. I'm gonna advance for time purposes, but make sure that you do answer your question, this question on what brings you here before we continue. Okay, amazing. So we are about to start a self-directed exploration. So we are like this person in the picture here. We're in the middle of the nature, on the top of a mountain. You can see there's a river there. There's a trail. We have walked a long way to be here, and we're still like there, right? We're starting our self-directed exploration here. And what I'm going to invite you to do now is I'm going to invite you to take 6 minutes for the self-driven exploration. And the idea here is that you develop a hypothesis on how to answer the second question of the workshop. Why does self-directed learning matter in the age of generative AI? But don't worry, you're not going to be alone in the jungle with no tool, with no support system. We have created 2 resources to help you answer this question. The first one is a notes PDF. So the book that I shared with you, at the very beginning of the workshop, we have selected the PDF of this book, and we have it available for you. And we have also created a guiding question sheet for you to make your copy. You're also welcome to use any extra resource you feel like you need it. So you have the resource we have created for you, and you have also the possibility to use any extra resource you feel like you need it. But where do I find these resources, Gabriela? Do I have to put it online? No. So in the Zoom, in the bar that you have below or up in your Zoom screen, you can find a button named Resources. Please find this button now and click on it. You are going to find two tabs. You are going to find the tab Documents, and you're going to find a tab named Links. You want to find them both because each document is in a different tab. The self-directed book document is under the Documents tab. And the guiding question sheet for you to make your own copy is on the link, okay? So this is the first thing you're gonna do now. You're gonna find the resources button, and you're gonna click on the self-directed learning PDF, and you're gonna click on the guiding question sheet so you can make your own copy. This is the first thing you have to do. What else you're gonna do before I start the timer for 6 minutes of self-driven exploration? You have to use the first minute to structure your exploration. So, okay, let me see something in the chat. System error is showing. There's an error when I click on the resources. Okay, let's see if our technical team can take a look at that. So maybe we can send the link in the chat, tech team, so that's easier for folks. It worked for some of them, but not for others. Let me see. We're gonna try and handle this as we are talking, because we do have an amazing tech team that's supporting me. So it seems like it's working for some people and not for others. Okay, that's curious. We did test that. You can see it, but you won't do anything. You should click on the links. Okay, everybody? Okay, amazing. We did have the link. Everybody, so Kenzie just shared the link to everyone. Here's the link to the document you should be clicking on. No problem. Okay, I'm gonna leave this to Kenzie because she's the expert and she will be supporting me here. And I'm gonna keep instructing everybody in case you still don't have the documents. When I set everybody to a self-driven exploration, we will take care of you, okay? We will take care of you. So just let me here just instruct everybody else. And then when I set the timer, those of you who still haven't got the resources, we will take care of you, okay? Okay, all right. So what's gonna happen? And then I'm gonna take care of everybody who still haven't got the link. You're all gonna have 6 minutes of self-driven exploration. The goal is to develop a hypothesis on how to answer the second question of the workshop. Why does self-directed learning matter in the age of generative AI? You have the resources that we're gonna set for everybody in case you don't have that. And you can use any extra resource you feel like you need. And then you have only 2 rules. Use the first minute to structure your exploration. So this is your exploration. This is your time. What can you do to make the most of this time? Should you maybe close down all other tabs? Should you maybe use the book that we shared and highlight parts that make sense to you? Should you read the whole book, or should you find maybe a part of it that makes more sense? Should you take notes? These are all questions for you to answer, okay? And then come back with hypotheses on how to answer the guiding question, why does self-learning matter in the age of generative AI? So there are only 2 rules. They are very, very simple, okay? Okay, amazing. So I'm gonna set the timer for 6 minutes and we will take care of those who still haven't got the resource, okay? So if you have the resource, maybe you want to just make sure that you have sound on for when we're inviting everybody back, which will be in 6 minutes from now, okay? And if you still haven't got it, then we will help you, okay? With the chat, with the link. This is a place for everybody. So starting off the chats now and putting on some music, just so we can make sure to share that with you when the time is done, okay? Exploring, no need to submit an answer now, okay? No need to submit an answer now. Just explore on your own and we will be back soon, okay? Gilberto, welcome. If you're arriving now, you are gonna receive a resource by clicking on the resource button in the Zoom tab. You can also try and as somebody's asking, Christine, the title of the book and author is Self-Directed Learning from Malcolm Knowles, okay? You can try and read on your own if you're still unable to access it in the resources page. The Google page is the guiding session, the guiding questions sheet. That's an extra resource we have created for your convenience. But the resource we would love for you to explore is Self-Directed Learning PDF by Malcolm Knowles. We have put it under the Resources tab. And for those of you who have started your exploration, we have another minute to go. Okay, welcome back. Welcome back. This was short, but the idea is that you have a moment to at least explore. And we would love to learn how the process was for those of you who managed to do it. I know that some people had some trouble with the resources tab, and we will make sure that the next time this does not happen, right? But for now, for those of you who actually have been able to find the resources and to run this exploration, we would love to learn how this was. So maybe if some people can raise their hands, I would love to invite 2 volunteers to unmute and share how was the process of exploring. If you succeeded, okay. For those of you who didn't succeed, we apologize, our sincere apologies, but we would love maybe to hear from those of you who actually were able to explore. So I'm seeing Jen here with a raised hand, and also Sandra. So let me open up the mic for Jen if you are there and you want to share how was the process and what you have discovered. So hello, Jen. I hope you are there. If you want to share how was the process for you? No? No, Jen. Let's try somebody else. This is like live radio. I'm feeling like the radio in the 90s, if you remember that. Calling and then people don't answering. Let's try with Gabriel Riley. Let's see. You're there? Are you there, Gabriel? Let's allow you to talk. Hello, Gabriel.
Yes,
Would you
can you
like
hear
to?
me?
Yes, hello. We can hear you. Cannot see you, but we can hear you.
Yes, one of the things I would say is that if you go through Facebook any at all, you actually find a lot of AI generated content. And so there may be tips, for example, to spot these deep fakes that they do. Also, to know how to have the critical thinking skills to see what the human generated content is versus the AI generated content.
Amazing. Amazing. So you're bringing this idea of understanding what is the creation, right? How was the creation process? Was it AI based or was it student based? This is something that has been on your mind. And what have you discovered through the 6 minute process? Like, how was it for you having the time to use it as you wanted?
It can be a little bit disorienting at first, even though I've done a lot of self-directed learning.
Mm-hmm. And why is that? Can I ask you?
Absolutely. When you're given a certain time period and you're not told exactly what to go search for, it's left up to your own devices and your own thoughts. And
Mm-hmm.
then you have to build in your own learning style and what works for you. So, for example, I had to go unmute the audio or mute the music so I could focus on seeing if I could find something quickly from the book.
Mm-hmm.
And then
Perfect.
I looked at the question and then formulated an answer based on my personalized learning and previous experience.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Perfect. Thanks for sharing, Gabriel. Would love to hear maybe from somebody else. So I have here Brandon, and thank you, Gabriel. I wish you a very good end of the webinar. Let's open up for Brandon. Are you there, Brandon? Would you like to share your experience with us?
Yeah.
Let's see.
Gabriela, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can hear you. Hello, welcome.
Yeah. So this process, I kind of do echo a lot of what Gabriel just shared with us, how with the process itself, at first, I too did feel a little disoriented where I didn't exactly know what to look for. And I'm the kind of person, like, if you give me a time slot, depending on what I am doing, sometimes I can be like, oh, 6 minutes, oh, this is nothing. This will be easy. But then there's other times where I really do feel the anxiety just like I do feel it creeping in and at first I was kind of like, okay, what am I doing here? But as I dove more into the text, it was really interesting what I discovered about self-directed learning. So definitely just kind of the text was in the time that we got to spend reading through it, it was very informative.
Amazing, amazing. I'm hearing disorientation, but at the same time, the power of being in direct contact with the resource, right? So not a filter. It's not a filtered lens. You were actually able to be with the book, with the words of the author, and this was something powerful for you.
It was most definitely. I mean, like I said, definitely opened up a new door. So I was really, really impressed with what I found. So,
Amazing, amazing. Thank you so much, Brandon, for sharing. We are gonna move on now, but I loved hearing from you and from Gabriel. So thank you a lot from unmuting and sharing your experience on stage. And I would love for everybody to maybe resonate and reflect on what Gabriel and Brandon have just shared, because to be honest, and I'm gonna share this as we unpacked the 3 and maybe 4 guiding questions. Self-driven exploration feels like disaccommodation, right? Feels like disorientation at first because it takes on a lot of agency from the learner, but is also very powerful. So let's dive into it, right? Our aligning concepts moment. What is self-directed learning? Why does this approach matter in the age of generative AI? And how can one experiment with self-directed learning? So from all of you, like you have already maybe captured that or have hypotheses, right? So this is basically a process by which learners manage their own learning process, their own learning methods. So what Gabriel shared, like he had to unmute, right? He had to mute the music, right? So he could focus. He was the manager of his own learning process, diagnosing their learning needs, formulating goals, identifying resources. We have a lot of you who, during the process, by having any challenge, by finding the resources, you went online, right, to find your own resources. So this is self-driven learning. Selecting and implementing learning strategies. So I had not asked anybody to post in the chat answers, but some of you started doing that because you felt that this was important for you. And evaluating learning outcomes. So we're gonna get there in a few minutes. But it involves taking responsibility for one's own learning journey, fostering a sense of autonomy and encouraging lifelong learning. Because in life, it is very hard that it is very like, let's say it's not something that happens a lot. Everybody gives you a toolkit on how to answer your problems, right? So this is why self-directed learning is such a powerful experience. You have to be an agent. You have to have this sense of autonomy. And in this process, teachers act as facilitators and mediators, and we function primarily as procedural guides and only secondarily as a resource for content information. So this process entails changing a little bit on how we see ourselves, right, as teachers and the power that we hold. Instead, it is more of a distributed power system. And nowadays, we mostly talk about self-directed learning as referring to promoting student agency, promoting student autonomy, right? And why does this approach matter in the age of generative AI? Because it leverages student learning and engagement, and it's backed up by science. So there's a lot of research showing that SDL, as like an acronym, is positively related to academic performance, aspiration, creativity, curiosity, and life satisfaction. So tons of learning sciences research backing it up. And because doing it prior to AI was demanding. So educational tools pre-AI, they were not available, right? So they were like very limited. And now we have tools like Quizlet, such as Learn, we're gonna see in a minute, that can scaffold self-driven learning processes, helping us scale up our job to serve each and every student, considering where they are in the curriculum. So we had somebody from the beginning sharing that they have a lot of students with learning gaps. I did too when I was a teacher. And doing this without tools, without AI-powered tools, was hard. And we want to have a good quality of life, right? We don't want to just be like teaching all the time. We want to be people. So these tools can help us in the process, right? Tailoring our experiences to students' curriculum, to their own rhythms, and to their own personal interests. And how can one experiment with self-directed learning? Well, first, you just did that, right? It might have been confusing, it might have been disorienting, but probably you have a lot of hypotheses at the very end of this experience on how you want to do it yourself, right? Maybe you want to give print out the resources. You don't have to have everything online. Maybe you want to make sure that every student know what they're gonna do. You want to scaffold more the process, or you want to scaffold less. But the main point is that you start by experimenting, right? The very same steps that are defended by notes in the book and emphasized by the name of this conference, which is the Agile Educator. So here we have a little bit of the Agile methodology, which tells us that it's all about a matter of planning, designing, developing, testing, deploying, and reviewing experiments. So as a teacher, you can diagnose a need or a problem to be solved. You would like to experiment with this methodology, formulate a goal, identify the resources that can support you, run the experiment, evaluate outcomes, and start over again. And finally, our last question, how can Quizlet tools support you in this practice, right? Some of you and a lot of you came because of that. So we want to make sure that we answer this question. And here we have prepared a little bit of a demo from Learn, which is like one of the most recent launched products by the Quizlet team. And I'm going to play the demo for you. It's going to take just 2 minutes. But as I play it, I would love for you to maybe reflect on 2 questions. What excites you the most about it? What is the upside? And what is one experiment you can see yourself doing with Learn, okay? This is the tool that we want to introduce you so you can like ignite your own thinking on how can you use it in your classroom. So I'm gonna share you here.
Learn takes flashcard sets and turns them into a variety of practice questions like multiple choice, fill in the blank, and written questions, which can help students learn their material more effectively and utilizes an active recall approach to engage students in their material. Learn is a really cool study mode on Quizlet because it meets students where they're at in their study journey, adapts to their learning, and challenges them as they make progress through Learn. When a student starts Learn, we ask them to first reflect on their goals and their current status of knowledge, which helps Quizlet to better serve questions best suited for where they are at. Learn then creates practice questions to apply what they know. When we present a question to students, we don't want the right answer to be obvious, so we use things called distractors. These are other viable answer options meant to push students to think critically about what the correct answer is. These distractors can come from other terms in the set or even AI. As students progress through the set and Learn, we provide encouragement and track their progress along the way. This way, students know what they're working towards, can stay motivated, and can feel a sense of accomplishment to see how many questions they've answered correctly. But if a student gets a question wrong, no worries. We give students a chance to learn what the correct answer is by giving them remediation. Quizlet will later reintroduce the question to help support the application of this feedback. We also break up the experience into bite-sized chunks so students have a chance to review what they just practiced. Here, we're introducing new terms in a new round. As you can see here, this is a question that I answered correctly previously in another round. Here, what Quizlet is doing is reintroducing the question in a different question format, like a written question. This makes sure that the student uses different types of recall in order to get the answer correct. At any point, if a student doesn't know the answer, we always provide them an option to say they don't know. This really allows students to focus on the goal at hand, which isn't always just about getting questions right or wrong, but really learning the material. We encourage students and teachers to use Learn to build knowledge in a self-guided, fun, and interactive way.
Okay, amazing. This was our little demo from Learn. And I'm gonna come back to our slide deck and recap today's goal. And this was short and brief, and you probably have a lot of things in your mind. And this is the idea. This is just an introduction, right? Was to explore how to boost learning in your classroom by experimenting with self-directed learning with the help of Quizlet's innovative study tools. And we have explored together what is self-directed learning, why does this approach matter in the age of generative AI, how can one experiment with self-directed learning, and how can Quizlet's tools support you in this practice. We have just showed you Learn, the most recent tool that was developed by Quizlet that supports students in their own study process, right? You have seen here matching a lot of answers to support the self-driven learning process. And we have inquired you, what is one experiment you could see yourself doing with Learn by putting forth this approach that we have just shared. So before we go, we would love to hear from you. What is your major takeaway from this workshop? So if you can please post it in the Zoom. Actually, I'm gonna ask you to just type it and not post it yet. And when I say go, everybody's gonna post at the same time, okay? So please just take a second to answer. What is your major takeaway from this workshop? Okay, everybody can post already because there's so many. It's gonna become a waterfall anyway. So please post us. What is your major takeaway from this workshop? Self-directed learning can add a new dimension to teaching. Amazing. Okay, student motivation, learn feature. Simplicity, keep students engaged. Thank you, everybody. This is amazing. I'm loving these answers. I really hope to see you again. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Have a great end of your day or beginning of your day, depending on which time zone you are. And I hope to be connected soon. Thank you very much.